Welcome back. I'm Devin Dye with Ron Spencer Real Estate, and just want to talk about when is the best time to sell your property. That is a question that presents itself several times throughout the year for me, and dealing with farmland real estate, you have to take several things into consideration when selling a property, and one of the things is when is the best time. And I think the answer to that question really depends on what's best for the seller. And a lot of times people are afraid to sell a property during mid-growing season, and that's where we are right now in July, right in mid-growing season. And using a real estate professional that knows how to navigate those things is really key to getting through selling a property during the mid-growing season. There's several different arrangements that landowners have regarding either the crop or cash rent or share crop, and that makes it a little bit more difficult during the negotiation stage as to when possession will be given or how the crop is handled. For example, in a cash rent situation, one could pro-rent the rate, or they could give the entire rent to the new owner even during mid-growing season, as long as the seller is happy with the price. And all of that just depends on the negotiation stage. One of the positives that exists during selling a farm in mid-growing season is the beauty of it. Everything is green. You can really tell what type of property you have. You can tell what kind of crops that particular property grows, whether they're good, poor, and that is the positive to selling a property during mid-growing season. As I alluded to earlier, one of the negatives could be the issue of how to handle the crop, whether it's cash rent or anything like that. And I think one of the areas that we need to touch is a farmer selling a property that owns the crop, that planted it themselves. During mid-growing season, a farmer could sell a property, and one of the solutions to that is selling the property with the intent that the new buyer would reimburse that seller for the cost of inputting that crop. And there is a great resource that's published by the Ohio State University, and you can reach out to me, email me, Devin@RSRE, and I would love to send you a copy of that. It breaks down the cost associated with planting a crop, and it gives a very detailed description of all the costs associated, so that one in a negotiation could understand how to be reimbursed for those type of things. I think that some advice that's given a lot of times is that selling a farm or property that has crops growing on it during the mid-growing season is a bad thing. And I really want to reiterate that there is no bad time to sell a property. It just depends on the situation for the seller. And all of those situations, whether it be crops or cash rent or tenant, can be navigated with the help of a professional. And I think that's where it comes, I think that's where it's very important for you as the property owner to reach out to someone like myself that can handle that situation properly, which would in turn benefit you and yield you the most money that you can get for your property. For example, I sold a property in July of this year, and we put the property under contract in May of 2018, and during that time the crop had not yet been planted. However, we decided to give early possession to the tenant, to the buyer, so that they could plant the crop early, knowing that the sale would not actually consummate until July. And this was just a little bit different way to handle it. We negotiated a price that was satisfactory to both the buyer and seller with those arrangements in place, and we didn't have to worry about how the crop would be handled later in the fall. The new buyer will harvest the crop and receive the income from it this year, and the seller gets what he wants and sells the property this year. One of the reasons that that was such a successful sale was open communication, and it's very important during one of those transactions to have someone like myself in the middle of that, communicating between both buyer and seller to ensure that both of them get what they want in the time frame that they want it and ensure a successful sale. The seller was able to receive the price that he was after, and the buyer was able to receive the property in a time frame that let him receive the income yet this year, which is key to a buyer, because there is a chance that if you close a property in July, you may not receive income off that for a year and a half. So negotiating this in a proper way helps a seller receive the income that they need. Another example, I sold 96 acres in Hardin County, and we closed it in mid-August, and the seller actually wanted to rent the farm back. And in order for him to entice a new buyer into that situation, we allowed him in August to pay rent back to the seller for the entire year. Now that may not make sense, but as long as the seller is getting the price they want and the buyer feels he's getting the income for that year, then he's happy. And one of the alternative things that we did in that situation is not prorate the taxes. The buyer is receiving all of the income for the year, but so the seller shouldn't have to pay any of the prorated real estate taxes. And these are all things that may sound confusing to someone, but being in that situation, I've dealt with it hundreds of times, and I think it's very important for you as the owner to reach out to me and call me or someone in my profession to handle your situation so that you, in return, receive the most money that you can for your property, no matter what time of year you're selling it. If you would like any more information on any of the properties I discussed or any new properties that we may be receiving, you can contact me at devin@rsre.com, or you can contact me on my cell phone at 419-303-5891.
Closed captioning paid for in part by the following. Are you looking to buy or sell farmland? Then work with a company that works for you. Ron Spencer Real Estate. Founded in 1975, Ron Spencer specializes in farmland, agricultural, and commercial real estate. Check him out on the web with 3 locations to serve you. Ron Spencer Real Estate at rsre.com. That's rsre.com.